Hey everybody, Bryce Ayers here from codelife.io, and today we're going to be building a website with React Bootstrap. So, and by the way, if you go over to codelife.io and the website's not up right now, I'm in the middle of moving hosting providers, so maybe down temporarily, but hopefully by the time you see this, it'll be back up. Hopefully I get time to work on it and get it back and running. But so let's go ahead and dive in. React Bootstrap, it's a library for React. To basically wrap Bootstrap, all the jQuery and JavaScript parts, Reactify them, make them components essentially. So you don't need to include jQuery as a dependency with Bootstrap, but you will need to include the styles of Bootstrap since React Bootstrap doesn't provide that. So that's what we're going to do. Before we get started too, make sure you have Node.js installed. Use the LTS version. Download that. That should come with npm. And then for this tutorial, since I believe Create React App kind of forces you to use Yarn or default installs with Yarn, the way we're going to do it, just go ahead and grab Yarn. It's just like npm. It's just a fast version. I believe Facebook created it. You can fact check me on that one. So let's go ahead, jump into it. So we're going to start with Create React App. That's the first step here. And you guys have probably seen this video. I've done it a couple of times in different ways, setting up the project, but I believe React Bootstrap kind of updated their library and it kind of broke some things. So a lot of you guys have been hanging in there and waiting for the fixes. So hopefully this will show you the fixes here. So since we have npm, we could do it this way, or we could do it with Yarn. I'll just show you with npm. I'll show you. It actually ends up creating a Yarn file. So go over to your terminal. If not, you can hit Command Spacebar on a Mac and type terminal. It'll pop up. So let's go ahead and paste that command. And what we want to call our app, we'll just call it React Bootstrap for now. That'll work. I'm going to go ahead and create the project. Oops. Probably take a second with npm here. Yarn seems to be a little bit faster, I think, since it ends up caching a lot of the packages. So it doesn't have to re-download them every time. npm might do that. It's been a while since I've kept up with the npm versus Yarn debate. I just use whatever is most available. So this may take a little longer on your computer, depending. And it's done. Perfect. Yeah, so you see here it says Yarn start, Yarn build. Which are like, we just used npm though. So if you type ls, you should see React Bootstrap folder. So we'll cd into that. And ls will tell us all the files in there. Yeah, and so you see there's a Yarn lock file in there. Which, that's okay. So we'll just use Yarn for the rest of the stuff. So now what we need to do, let's go ahead. We need to install some dependencies. We need the router. So React Router allowed us to change pages. So we want the web version, natives for mobile. So click web. If we go to web, it should tell us the basics of how to set it up. npm install. Create React type. Did that. All right, so we need React Router DOM. So if we go here, you can type yarn add or npm install -s save and then the item. But let's use yarn. Yarn add. Must have copied and pasted too much there. Now to go ahead and save that for us. So now we have that package. You also need React Bootstrap. So let's click Get Started. And you need two things. You need Bootstrap and you need React Bootstrap. So you can come back here, type yarn add, just those two items. You can just put a space between them and I'll go ahead and add them both. So while those install, I also need, what else? Style sheets. That's what we need. And I believe one person on YouTube asked me, why do I need the style sheet from Bootstrap if I'm using React Bootstrap? Well, React Bootstrap doesn't include the style sheet. It only includes the JavaScript parts to replace the jQuery. So you still need this style sheet to get some of the default styles. So let's go ahead and open this up in Visual Studio Code. You can type code dot, or you can actually open up Visual Studio Code manually. So let me bring this over here. All right, so we got that. Close that. And I'll close this, open editors. There we go. So you should see some files here in your source folder. The ones we care about here. Actually, let's go into public first. This is where we need to find this index.html. And this is where we need to paste the Bootstrap style sheet. Actually, this is the wrong one here. Did this? There it is. This is the one we want. Sorry. I was like, it's already there. Boom, perfect. Yeah, so you can just find this other link URL here, or link, and just paste it in there. That should be fine. All right, now we've added our style sheets into our index.html file, which then everything gets loaded in via React into the root element here, the root div. Close this open editors. There we go. Okay. So next, I believe I have React Bootstrap. Let's start our project up. I think that's all we need for now. So clear, and so we can type yarn start. And what that's going to do is run the yarn or React scripts start command. So if you go in your package.json, all we did was just run this command. You can type npm start, or you can type yarn start, or yarn run start, npm run start. That'll trigger this. And so it's going to start a server for us on port 3000. So if we go into our browser, type localhost :3000, boom, got a website. You can tell the font looks probably a little different from the standard project because we have the styles loaded in for React Bootstrap. So now we're ready to start building. Perfect. So let's go over to our page, close these two. And let's go over here. Got index.js. Don't need some of this stuff. We can probably leave it. I'm not going to jack with the project too much here. So in app.js, this is kind of our main file here. This is where we want to tear some stuff out. So let's go ahead and just get rid of this whole div altogether. And what I'm going to do is we need to type react.fragment. And so what that allows us to do, it just kind of creates a wrapper. And so you don't actually have to create a div to wrap all your component, because you need an open and closing tag to wrap everything. Maybe it doesn't make sense, but you'll figure it out, I'm sure. So then in here, what we need is the router. So we need to grab the router. Delete this logo. We don't need that anymore. And we don't need this. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to include. Styled components. Sorry, I'm jumping around here. Components. There we go. So this is another way to do styling in React. You can use CSS files, SCSS, but we're going to use styled components. So you can see it's a little different syntax. You declare everything as like a essentially a component, which will be like, oh, this is actually an anchor tag. We're going to call it button, give it some styles, and then you can use that button component right in your JSX. So it's pretty cool. So if we go to documentation, basics, get started, installation, that's probably what we want. So npm install -save styled components. So I'm just going to copy styled components. So we come over here, I'm going to kill the server with Control C and type yarn add styled, yarn add styled components. Then once that's done, you can type yarn start. start our server again. All right, now we have everything. So let's try this again here. Cool. So we have our React app. Good to go. So where we left off, we want to add some routing. So in app.js, we need to add the routing so we can change pages. So I'm going to type import. We need browser router. We'll say we actually want to do that as router because browser router sounds weird. Type route and switch. We need those from React. Oops. Man, I cannot type. React router DOM. Perfect. Now down here, what we can do is we can add the router element. And then we can type route. Actually, excuse me, switch is what we need. So that way we can switch between all these different routes. And then we want each one of the routes. So we're gonna make 3 pages here. We're gonna have like a home, about, and a contact page. So let's do route. And we need to match it exactly. Otherwise this would match for a bunch of things. So we'll say match just when a regular slash, so nothing following. And the component we want to render, let's just put home for now. I know we don't have it there. We need to go create it. So we can do probably the same here. And for this, actually we don't need the exact part. So let's change that. This one will be contact, the contact component. And then finally, what we want to do is have a component called like no match, or you could call it 404 or something like that. So what's going to happen is it's going to try to match on nothing, then the word about, then contact, and then eventually, if it didn't match any of those, it'll hit this one and return like a 404 error page. So perfect, that should work for now. Then we need to create some components here. So let's go ahead. We need create home.js, about.js, contact.js, and finally no match. Perfect. So that looks good. And we should be able to do, see if this works. Perfect. So it creates a functional component for us. But what we want to do is actually change it, like this syntax a little better here, using the fat arrow. Cool. We actually even get rid of this turn statement. Little trick here. So it tricks it to thinking it's on a single line here. So you're just wrapping like, oh, this entire return is right here. So you don't need the curly braces if you're doing it all on a single line, basically. So we have export const home. And in home, I just grabbed some random text off the internet and threw it in some divs. There's some cat. Let me get rid of the emoji here. Crap here. I think it's from what was it, a lorem ipsum generator, something about cats. I just went and found it, but you can put over text. So we have a div, we have an h2 tag, so it's like a title tag, and then we have 3 paragraphs, and then our closing div tag. So nothing too crazy there. Let's do our about page, and our about page will be basically the same as home. So let me just grab home here. And we're going to export about. And put the same text in here. Essentially. Whoop. Yeah, it's pretty long. Cool. And then onto contact, which we can pretty much just copy this, Do the same thing. We'll just change the name of the component that gets exported. We'll just say contact us, page name, and I'll make it look a little different. So that way we're not doing all this. Cool. So it's a little shorter. And then for no match, let's just do this. So we'll have export constant no match, and basically just turns div and it says no match. Or yeah, that's fine. Cool. So now back over to app.js. Now we need to go and import all these. So we can import home from home. So just save us some time here. Perfect. So that should work. And so if we go back to our page, let's refresh. Cool. So we see hello world. That's our default page. We type about, contact, and then what if we go to some random page? Oop, doesn't match. So awesome. So that's looking pretty good. But these are kind of ugly and they're taking up the whole width of the page. So we want to kind of restrict them down. So let's add a layout. So let's go back over to our layout. Let's go click on the source here, create a new folder. We'll call it components. While we're at it, we'll create another one called assets to store our images. And then in components, we need a couple things. We need, let's do a layout.js for now. So this essentially will wrap our components with. That way they kind of have a similar look and feel. So we can go import. I'll just type this one out so you guys see it. React from React. Import container from React-Bootstrap, which, by the way, this isn't the most performant way to do this. The better way to do this would be like this. But it looks ugly, and this is just an example, so I'm not going to do that. But that way you don't import the entire library, just to destructure it, just to get one item. But it should be fine. It's a small project. So we have export const layout, and we want to take in props. So props are properties that get passed to the component, and we need to render our container element. And a container is a Bootstrap element essentially that centers the text up on the page and keeps it from like overflowing, touching like both sides of the page. And then we're just going to render props.children. So anything we wrap with this will render right smack dab in the middle. So that should look good. Then if we go back over to app.js, and let's import layout from /layout. Oop. Components. /layout. There we go. So now we need to wrap this. So right here, put it. So what we did was we added layout here, basically wrapping this. And so this is considered the props.children property. So you're passing it in basically as a function under the hood. This is just a function. So this is all getting passed to the layout, and then layout is rendering as props are coming in, and one of them is children, which is all those JSX tags. So save that, go back to our page, and boom. So you can see it's cleaned up a little bit. So now it's tucked into the sides. It's got a little room to breathe, looking a little better. So probably the next thing we need, probably a nav bar. So let's go ahead and let's do the nav bar. Let's go over to components. Let's create another component. Call it navigation bar.js. And again, we'll import React from React. Import, here we import nav and navbar. Those will be from React-Bootstrap. So just like you would in Bootstrap, you'd have navbars you bring in. And now we're going to import styled from styled components. And what I like to do is real simple, just create a styles component that's going to wrap everything. So we can apply styles to this component. But some people actually like to make individual components, render them out. For this example, I'm just going to create this big wrapper one. You'll see what I'm talking about in a second. So we're saying use the style library, and it's going to be a div. And this is kind of weird here. I'll use backticks to use a string, and essentially it'll render that out. So it's that ES6, ES7 feature. So it's just a giant string that then gets interpreted. So the navbar class, let's give it a background color of that. Navbar brand, navbar nav, and nav link. Give those a color of, I found this color blue earlier. It should do the trick. Now, here's a cool thing you can do. It's kind of like SCSS, you can append. So these are the nav links that we're styling. So when you hover on them, so instead of having to redeclare these like this, and I have to be like, okay, you know, hover and add hover to here, which sucks having to redeclare like that. You can just use this syntax here and I'll add it on. Say color, we'll just say white. Cool, so we got our styles, that's looking good. Now let's make our component. This is a functional component here, or presentational component, I guess you could say. So styles, you see what we did there? So we're using this to wrap everything, and then if we declare classes inside of here, like a navbar class on a div or whatever, that style would then get applied to it. And now it's scoped, and so if you also have another navbar in your app that you're styling, you don't affect both of those styles. So it's pretty handy. So we're going to say navbar, we'll say expand. Screen is large, so it's smaller than that. It should have the mobile menu, I believe. And then we'll say navbar brand dot brand. Say href slash, and here I'm just going to say code live. Now we need a toggle. And area controls. Don't need to worry about this. It's just in the React Bootstrap documentation, so I added it in, but it's more for accessibility. And navbar dot collapse. This one will actually get an ID. Basic navbar nav. What happened there? Let's see. why that looks funny. Oh, there we go. I'm sure you guys saw that. I missed that. Then we just put our items inside of here. So we need a nav. And I want to left align, or excuse me, right align the link. So we'll say margin left auto. So that's a Bootstrap class. You can just apply to that. And in here now, we can put our nav items. And in there, you have a nav link. href / and that'll be the home. That'll be our home link. Let's just copy and paste this a couple times. You know, about the contact page. Perfect. So now we just need to include that back in our app.js. So we go over there. Let's import it. All right, we got it imported. Now you'll see why we needed this React.fragment, because right here I want to add the navigation bar. And we're going to self-close it. But you see what happened? We don't have an element wrapping everything because we have two elements side by side. So we need an element to wrap everything. Sometimes you'll see people go like this, and they'll just do that as an empty one and make this empty as well. I've seen that, but I prefer using React.fragment. So it's explicit. Cool, so we have a nav bar. This is looking pretty good. Home, about, contact. Cool, so we're changing pages. Everything's looking really, really good. So now what we need to add is a jumbotron here with like a little background image and stuff. Make it look a little sportier. I think that'd be good. So let's go to components. Call it jumbotron.js. And in here, let's import React from React. Import the jumbotron component. We'll call it as jumbo so the name doesn't conflict with what we have down below, since we named the component jumbotron. And then container. Those will be all from React-Bootstrap. There we go. Wanted that autocomplete. Also import style components. And this right here just means this is a default import as opposed to this being an explicitly named import or export, I guess you could say, from the other item. Import, and then I'm gonna add in, I got an image of a boat for a background that I dug up. So I'm gonna add that in there. So import boat image from, and we'll need a folder called assets. Oh, we created that already. We don't have the boat image, but I have one. So let me go ahead and add that in there right now. Let's see if we can find it. There we go. That should be the image there. So that's the one we want. And I got it from pexels.com. Go here, type, maybe overlook background image. Oop. You can find all kinds of stuff in here. Like this would be a cool one too. So I'm not sure where I found this one. But it was on this website. And then all I did was take the picture, took it to Crapola, and I just changed the size of it to make it kind of fit a little bit better. So Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and just drag that in to my assets here. And let me rename it. I think that's what we called it. And where'd it go? Jumbotron. Put it up here. Boat image. From boat. That's fine. We'll do that. I'll change the name. Boat image. There we go. So that looks good. So now I need, let's create our component first. This might make more sense when you see it. So we'll go jumbotron, jumbotron, make it a functional component. And we don't want to write a return statement, so we'll just do that. I guess I actually need to create the styles. Sorry guys. Styles equals style dot, and it's a div that we'll need. And we can just do that for now. There we go. Because I just needed that component there so it wouldn't error out on us. Now Jumbo, so you see Jumbotron would have conflicted with the name we had it, so we called it as Jumbo. So we'll say Jumbo, it's going to be fluid. So that's the same as saying fluid equals true. But shorthand, you can just write that. And then class name. Oops. Give it a class name of Jumbo. That looks good to me. Then inside here, I need an overlay I'm going to add. Don't actually need to put anything in there. That's just going to be pure CSS to put kind of a dark overlay so our title will pop. And then we need a container so the text will kind of line up in the middle. Let's say welcome, H1 tag, that's the title tag. And then, nope, that's not what I want. Do a paragraph tag, and we'll say learn to code from my YouTube videos. Hooray. Cool. So let's go back over and check it out. Is our server still working? Oh, that's why. app.js, we didn't bring it in yet. Thanks for pointing that out, guys. All right, import jumbotron from component/jumbotron. Cool. And now right below navigation, I should be able to put the jumbotron in there. There we go. Cool. So now we have our nav bar. That's all still working. The pages change. Everything's down here. It's changing. Looking good. I don't know why it's flashing. It's kind of weird. Kill the server here. Give it a sec to reload. Oh, that's really weird. Shouldn't be. Let me know if you guys are having that same issue. Maybe it's something in the router. So we have our title, the page changes. It's all looking good. I like it. So what I want to do is now that boat image, I want to put it in the background here. And so you can see why I cropped it, because this is kind of a long, skinny image. And so I wanted to kind of look a little better, as I said, the background image for that. Otherwise, the proportions would be really weird. So it may take a little while to find the right image that's going to work for you. So let's go ahead and add some styling. Make sure we line that image up on the background there. We go over to Jumbotron. And in here, so let's target that Jumbotron class we created. And here we'll say background, URL. And now here's the cool part. Since this is just a string essentially between these two backticks, we can do $curly brace and we can inject JavaScript variables. So we can say boat image for the URL. We'll say no repeat, fixed bottom. So the rest is just standard CSS, nothing crazy going on here. And then background size cover, that'll make the image stretch and fit all around. Let's change the color though of the text. Say height, let's make it 200 pixels. Sounds good. Background, position, I think I already set this. I think it's probably okay. Position, relative, and z index. So this is the part that'll say whether or not this needs to be on top or bottom or whatever when compared to other divs in that same index or same plane there, I guess. So we'll just set it to -2. You can set it to whatever. You can set it to 50 or whatever, as long as the overlay that we're going to add is set higher. So you'll see what I mean in a second here. Now we'll target our overlay div. Say background color, set to black, but that's okay because we're actually going to go over top of the picture. Say opacity 0.6, so 60%. Position, this is important, absolute. That's what'll help it float. And we have to tell it where to actually position it absolutely on the page. Say top 0, left 0, bottom 0, right 0, and z index. So since this is -2, this just has to be anything greater than -2. So we can say -1. We can make this 50, then we just need to make this 51 or higher, and it would look right. So the overlay is going to be kind of a black overlay over top of it. Let's see what happened there. Let's see the image showing up. Let's see. Oh, that might help. Do I have other typos in here? Background URL, no repeat, fix bottom. Doing something here. Something's wrong. Let me pause real quick and figure out what I mistyped here. All right, I think I may have figured it out. So the class name is Jumbo. There we go. Cool. Yeah, so I had the class name didn't match this guy. That's all it was. Cool. So it was just a small typo. So this class matches to this, then this the overlay matches to this. So we can come back. Cool. So it's got like a nice little kind of subdued feel. We could brighten that up a little bit. Make the color, maybe not that, maybe like EF. So it's not like pure white, but bright. Yeah, I like that better. Cool. You can see we hover over all these, changes pages. All seems to be working. Everything's looking good. What else do we need? I think that's it. Can't think of anything else. Let's see if we go to some random page. Cool. It just says no match. Everything's looking good. So I think that's about the end. If you guys are interested, I can add more to this. We can put some sidebars in or whatever else you guys want to do. Maybe throw some ideas out there. Leave me some comments below. Please like and subscribe. Helps other people find the page when it gets promoted in the rankings. Appreciate you guys for hanging around, sticking with this tutorial, and please let me know if you guys have any questions. Thanks. Take care, guys.